Hi, everyone, and welcome to the QuitCast. It has been a while since you've seen me, and the majority of this video is all about why that is the case. So I am the person who talks about burnout, and I'm also not immune to burnout. Guess who has been burned out for the last almost month, and just can't, yeah. Yeah. So even those of us who have been through it before, even those of us who know a fair amount about it, have coached people through it, still are not immune to being burned out themselves. And so just a note for anyone who is going through this right now, who feels like I should know better or whatever, whatever it is that we're telling ourselves is true, that is just not the case. And some of you have been following this channel ever since we started. We are about to hit our 3-year anniversary. So we'll be ending our 3rd year and beginning our 4th year of the QuitCast. And I'm going to have to go back and check for sure, but my staff assures me that this happens to me on a fairly regular basis in December. And so I wrote one thing on my calendar for next year, and it is do not overdo it in November and December, because the burnout that I have been going through has been fairly extensive. Some of you have witnessed parts of it because like you've been coaching with me ongoing and have noticed that I am in a different location than I was before. And that is part of what has facilitated it. Thankfully, it's not total and complete burnout for me. Like I've still been able to work and I've still been, well, that's not true. I haven't been able to work at 100% capacity, but I've been able to work at the capacity where I've been able to coach with people and still be fine. I think part of my issue has been that long COVID has had more of an impact on me than I wanted to admit. And it is genuinely difficult when you have some of the neurological symptoms of long COVID that I've had, in terms of not being able to get words to come out the way you want them to. And of course, being somebody who is, uses her brain like all writers do on a regular basis, it's just had more of an impact on me than I wanted to admit. And usually what that means is that I just need to take more breaks. Like when I'm on, I'm usually okay in terms of like when I get on to do a recording like this or when I get on to do coaching calls. But I can't do the wake up super early, write all morning. When I'm done with coaching calls, jump right on and start in working and do 8 to 10 hours of coaching calls like I had been doing for a long time. And several of you have been around as we have brought more staff on. And remember when I used to do everything myself, in addition to coaching the multiple hours a day, 8 to 10 hours, it was an easy day for me, used to be. And now in the middle of burnout, we've modified my schedule. And so I wanted to go through a couple of the things that I have been doing to manage the burnout, because I hope that this is helpful for you. The first thing I did was prioritize the stuff that absolutely has to get done and what level of energy it needed in order to get that done. So just as a, for instance, for my job, because I coach one-on-one with authors and they expect me to be able to listen to them and be socially present with them and ask questions and things like that, and then have access to the information in my brain. That is, for those of you who've watched the burnout series that I did a couple of years ago now, I talk about the different qualities of energy and how the closer you get to that gold level energy, the more different types of energy you need. And that makes that one type of energy really, really expensive. That gold energy for me is how I prioritize what happens with my time. And so coaching is a gold level energy penny usage for me. What that means is I have to give my number one best time of the day to those, to that job, part of my job. And then I have to do everything I can to make sure that my energy usage is sustainable in the other parts. And so sometimes what that means is, so if you remember when we talk about the sort of gold, energy, and then the silver, and all the way down until you get to like lead energy, right? Which is basically just lay in bed and watch Christmas movies, which is what I have been doing a fair amount to try to just keep my energy level sustainable, and sleeping, right? Because sleeping not only helps me to replenish my energy, and it also is a good use of my time when I'm trying to recover from burnout. So that whole like build a ladder, come out of the pit part has been kind of all that I have been doing, and for the last while. So what that means is, those of you who saw me at a conference, right? Like I would be managing my gold level and silver level energies so that when I was on stage, which would be like a silver level energy for me, a silver amount of energy pennies. What I really like about what Jess does when she talks about energy pennies is she talks about them in terms of the money that you spend. So like that's $1, that's a $5, that's a penny. And if I had one thing to do over, and I may actually do this when we rewrite parts of the burnout book, is I may actually go back and talk about that in terms of type, like amount of money spent, rather than the material that the money was made out of. I think that might have been a communication, capital C, communication strength thing that went a bridge too far with the gold, silver, copper, lead, etc. And so if you think about that in terms of the amount of pennies that are spent, I might be at a $5, penny spent on stage. I might be at a $10 penny spent coaching. Writing a Patreon post for me might be 50 cents or $1 or $2, depending on the type of post that I'm writing. Writing class content, which I did in November, we launched a brand new class. I wrote all of the content for that class, and I just was not paying attention to how much energy that was taking out of me. So on one hand, I was spending energy pennies massively in November, and then on the other hand, I was not resting well and not taking care of myself. And so then I burned out. So I've spent the majority of the first 2 weeks of December basically just replenishing my energy pennies and trying to be at as low of a level as often as I can. What that looks like is I have done no podcasts, I think in almost 2 months, no QuitCasts. And that, interestingly enough, when I think about the prioritization level of my energy, the second thing that I do, so the first thing in burnout recovery is prioritize what needs to get done. The second thing I do is I look at what doesn't need to get done. So like things that could feasibly, like it's not going to impact anybody's life or death situation. Is anyone going to crash and burn if I don't put out a QuitCast? No, I know that they're helpful. I know you guys enjoy them. I appreciate that you're all here paying attention, because it helps me also to deliver content, to be able to process everything that happens in the business. But additionally, I have to prioritize. So I prioritize the amount of energy and what absolutely has to happen. And then that's sort of the assessment part, right? And then I have to decide what is not going to happen. And so when I decide what isn't going to happen, then I just let myself off the hook for those things. And those of you with high responsibility, one of the ways that I get around that is I know if I had realized what kind of commitment it would have taken to launch that class, would I have done it and also committed to do all these other things? No, I wouldn't have. Okay, great. Then I need to let myself off the hook for those commitments, even if it was something that I still feel like I have a responsibility to do that thing. But on a commitment level, anytime I'm surprised by something, that's how I want to talk to my responsibility. And so when I have those moments where I have to cancel out of stuff or not do things that I had said I was going to do, like several of you know that we had planned on getting the Dear Writer, Are You Intuitive book out by the end of 2021. That clearly is not going to happen. We have 11 days left, not even 2 weeks, 11 days left, and I am nowhere near finished. And so that is not going to happen. So then what I had to do was I had to reorient, what am I capable of doing right now? And then the third piece, right, is what is going to bring me the recovery? So some of that is systemic, and I'm going to talk more about that later on, because I'm kind of going to do a whole series of burnout stuff now, because this is where we find ourselves, Becca. So, but the third step, when you think about how you fix the problem, when we talk about the pit, right? And you sometimes have to fill a hole at the bottom of your bank because you have crashed so hard through it, and that is a systemic thing. We're going to talk about that in a different video, but when I have pennies that need to get refilled, I know there are things that help me and things that don't. And I know that I need to get into doing things that replenish me and kind of clear the decks a little bit. And so I have been playing Animal Crossing New Horizons and building a Christmas fantasy island. And it has been filling all of my energy pennies lately. And so I am going to release the dream address for the Christmas Fantasy Island and themed appropriately here, in case any of you are Animal Crossing New Horizons players and want to take a look at what Becca's burnout recovery has been looking like. I'm going to release that address so that you can look at that. And on the off chance that in the future I change it, because of course there's a chance that I may have to continue doing this for a while, we'll renegotiate the dream address in the comments. But anyway, so in the show notes, there will be that there. I hope that you enjoy watching that. So I'm not sure how often I'm going to release these. I'm not going to commit to anything because I feel like I'm enough out of the pit at this point that I can start creating content again, but I have to be really careful that I don't get back into that place. So in my prioritization, I still have coaching calls to do, which I'm excited about. I love coaching calls. I still have classes that we're going to run in January. In fact, we're running the Market Better Faster class that we started in November. We're running that again in January. There will be a link in the show notes if you want to register for that. And then, of course, on our Patreon, we're doing our topical calls. I'm about to do one in 5 minutes for our topical calls for December. And then additionally, I have some content to write for the December Patreon. And so I'm not sure when the QuitCasts are going to come out, but I wanted to let you know that everyone has a possibility to burn out, even people who know everything about burnout. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got into it, when I noticed it, how I recovered. And I'm going to kind of do a little series. Hopefully they'll be short. My goal is to keep them about 15 minutes a piece and make them as helpful as possible. But I know a lot of us are going to be in either pandemic fatigue that is finally catching up with us, or futuristic fatigue of not having the ability to project forward. And so some of us are going to need this series, and I'm going to do this over the course of however many weeks it takes me to get through the content. And I hope that you will tune in with us. This is going to be a tiny pause from the marketing that we were doing, the marketing myths. I am going to pick those back up again in January or whenever we're done with this burnout mini series. And we're going to pick the marketing myths back up again. And we have plans in January because, of course, we recover from burnout. And I am on the road to recovery, 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes, but I'm on the road. So happy holidays, everyone. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate, that you have a great day. And if you are in the middle of burnout or struggling with some of this stuff, please do comment below. I'm going to also put the link to the Patreon where I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more if you want to join. And then, of course, the Market Better Faster class, which we're beginning in January, is going to open. And so please feel free to sign up for that. The Patreon has had their chance and everyone who wanted has gotten in. And now we release it to the YouTube channel. So I hope everyone has a great week, a productive week if you need one, a restful week if you need one. Those of us who are in burnout, we can go through all this together. And if you are on ACNH, please do tag me or come and find me, and let's see each other's islands. I'm excited to be Animal Crossing as buddies with you. So, all right, I will see you all soon. Bye.